Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to be going over a Torchlight 3 review of what is available right now in its current state in early access. And this is going to be a follow-up video because I did make a day 1 review, but this is going to be a review after I've completed the game with multiple characters on the hardest difficulty, which is what you guys are seeing in the background over here. So this is the final boss that you're able to go ahead and actually defeat on ridiculous difficulty, which just basically increases your magic find chance, and of course it makes the game a little bit harder. So first off, I'm going to go ahead and answer a bunch of the questions that I had got asked while I was live streaming, as well as looking at what people were asking in the comments. So in terms of the end game, there really isn't an end game right now. What you can do is farm the final boss on the hardest difficulty, and that's pretty much what you'd be doing because the level area is going to be higher. But pretty much, after completing the game with multiple characters, here's my thoughts on the game right now. So first off, the game will still be a buy-to-play game, and it is currently set to $30 to opt in for early access, which has 4 classes that you'll be able to go ahead and play. It will have an offline mode, but that mode is not available right now in the early access state. However, because it will have offline mode, I am really hopeful for the mod community to really make this game have a lot more depth, because Torchlight 2 was quite cool with a lot of the different mods, and I do like that quite a bit. Now, as far as the server stability goes, it's really good. In fact, I didn't have that many issues. Occasionally, every hour or so, when I would go ahead and warp to a zone, it would kick me out and I'd just kind of load back in. I would sometimes have to try 3 or 4 times, but it seems like that issue has been resolved. So if you were kind of on the fence with this game and it was only due to not being able to log in and play, I totally get it. It's really annoying for games to release and you literally can't even play them, especially when you thought you were going to be able to play the game offline. But again, that's going to be coming down later down the line. So when I made my first impressions video and my brief review of the day 1, I really feel like this game still lacks depth. There could be so much more room for customization, and there's a lot of things here that I feel like an action RPG really needed to have. If anyone has played an action RPG, you would notice these things immediately. Now, they have addressed some of these, and I will go over them, but as far as the game goes, it still feels way too casual, but they added an element which seems like it's a hardcore mechanic, and I mean hardcore as in like playing a game on hardcore, where if you die with a weapon that is considered lifebound, you'll actually lose the item permanently. Now, they have said that they will be changing this in the future with a post, and they're going to be updating this game. In fact, we'll be getting Act 3 very soon, and I'll give you guys an updated review of this game when they release the next and maybe final act, as well as the actual end game. So if you guys are new here, make sure you guys are subscribed and turn on that bell so you can see the rest of the game if you guys are interested in seeing what is later to come. But pretty much, I'm just going to roll some gameplay here in the background of doing the final boss on the hardest difficulty. Then I'll go ahead and show you guys the in-game mechanics that would separate this action RPG from another one. So first off, the main complaint that I have with this game really is the same, which is that it needs simply a lot more things to do in terms of the character customization. The areas definitely feel like they are small, maybe catered towards a mobile device. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that the game was designed for mobile. My guess is they wanted to make this game run on the Nintendo Switch, which technically is a mobile device in terms of its capabilities. So some of the areas will seem very small and the loading times can be quite long. But overall, I'm not going to complain too much about loading times in a game, especially when it's in early access, but that is something that a lot of people did notice in the game. As far as the game goes, it is super casual. I'm talking about less depth than Diablo 3. And that's okay for some people. That might not be a bad thing. Sometimes people felt like Diablo 3 was maybe too overwhelming. Hey, maybe this game will be for you because it's quite simple with only 7 skills to choose from. I like to see a massive skill tree, and I don't think that this game will offer that in the future, even when it finally launches. Maybe they'll make a new class with some expansions, but overall, I think there needs to be a lot more depth to the game, and that's my biggest complaint. And if you look at what people are complaining about, that's one of the biggest things for the game. But for me, I totally understand if their goal was to go ahead and make an action RPG and you just kind of complete the game, and that's basically it. As in, you go ahead and complete the campaign. Maybe there's a few like side dungeons or something that you can do at the end, but it's not meant to be a 1,000-hour plus game, right? With Path of Exile and even Diablo 4, in the future, I think they want the game to be more of a games of a service, as in like we're going to have like, leagues. Is this game going to be planning to do leagues? I mean, the game's not even out right now, so it's hard to say if they'll be able to continue the game just looking at the Steam numbers for the game in its current state, because obviously if they're going to be able to support the game in the future, they need enough players to either opt in and buy it or have some type of microtransactions in the future to support those types of things. But I like to have 1,100 hours into a game. I don't really like to spend 10 hours in an action RPG because I feel like it needs to have a lot more to it. However, I will admit for the first character that I played, I did enjoy it. The music and sound in this game, excellent. In fact, it reminds me a lot of Diablo 2 remixes in some of the areas, which is totally fine, and I think they did a great job. In terms of the visuals and graphics of the game, I like them for what they are. I'm more of a fan of Diablo 2 and Path of Exile when it comes to artwork and the art style, so to speak. But, you know, for what it is, I think they did a good job on this game. It doesn't, like, look bad. It's just the loading time's the only complaint, really, that I would have in that department. But for what it is, it's good. Really what it comes down to is the loot. Is the loot good in the game? They actually did sets a little bit differently with this game and how it works, and I'll show you guys in a moment here. But you only need to get a certain amount of pieces of the set to get those effects to actually proc. Like, you only need like 2 pieces to get the other bonus of one of the pieces, which I think is kind of a cool play on it. There's this relic system that actually I should hop into very soon. But there really isn't anything too innovative in this game, and the too long didn't watch version of it is the game simply just lacks depth. If you look at how popular Torchlight 1 and 2 were compared to this game, heck, you can go onto Steam right now and check via Steam charts the top peak amount of players that have played Torchlight 2. Heck, look at the 2-hour ago mark for Torchlight 2 versus Torchlight 3. There's more people playing Torchlight 2 right now than Torchlight 3, and Torchlight 3 is a new game. The all-time peak for this game is 3.4K, whereas you look at Torchlight 2 and we have 54,000. There's a lot more interest in the previous Torchlight game than this game, and it really does show with the current state of the game. It really feels like they haven't played an action RPG, and I don't mean to say that insultingly, but at the same time, how do you have an action RPG and you don't happen to have the minimap available to actually see and press to go ahead and show up just like you would have in Diablo 1, in Diablo 2, in any action RPG? In this game, you have to pull up the map over and over again. Now, they did mention that they will be fixing this issue in a later patch, and I totally understand, but I don't know how you release the game, even in early access, with that not available. That should be 100% something that would be in an action RPG. Another thing that really needs to be in an action RPG is movement speed on boots. Why is it not on boots? I don't know. There's a lot of things that concern me and make me wonder, to what extent did these guys actually play this game? And again, this is one of the guys that worked on Diablo 2. How do you not have the minimap to be able to be shown with like lighter opacity so you don't have to open up the minimap over again to just go ahead and kind of track your quest? It really doesn't make sense. In fact, most of the quests in this game do feel very mediocre in terms of go here, collect 5 of these, go over here, kill this guy. That's it. There's nothing really innovative like you had in like previous games like Diablo 2, where the quest just felt more meaningful. And for the campaign to be so lifeless with a lot of the quests, literally feeling like go here, do this, and it doesn't feel very innovative in its actual design. In terms of the actual things that they will be fixing, because they did release a very long read, and I'll link it down below if anyone cares about it, but I'll cover it in a future video when they go ahead and release the next act. But they mentioned they'll be fixing some of the things that people are complaining about. One of the things is Lifebound. So the game is 100% casual. Like, this game is not PoE or median XL in terms of its depth for customization, but they added this Lifebound mechanic that is a very hardcore mechanic. And I mean hardcore as in like Diablo hardcore, where if you die, you lose the item forever. So if you guys remember ethereal items from Diablo 2, it's kind of like that, but when you die, you just lose the item forever. And it's not like you're playing on hardcore to unlock that mode. It's just in the game. And I feel like that shouldn't have really existed, especially because you made the game definitely for casuals. I mean, with 7 skills on one of the skill trees, that is definitely something that should not be in the game. At least that's how I feel about it. A lot of other people feel the same thing. If you want to go ahead and select that as a mode, that's totally fine. But I think if you're trying to make the game as casual as possible with its graphics and visuals, and on top of that, in terms of its complexity, why would you add that to the game? I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of things that aren't working. I'm not going to go over them too much, but like your pet doesn't even work a lot of the times in this game, and that's kind of frustrating to have certain things like completely not work, especially when you already had this game branded as Torchlight Frontiers, and a lot of people said that that game was in a better state. So here's how I currently feel with this game, and I still feel pretty much the same as I did previously when I released my day one review. The game is fun if you just want to go ahead and complete the campaign and just spend like 10 hours in the game as a super casual action RPG game. But if you want something next generation and has these new things, this game simply doesn't offer it. Right now we don't technically have endgame, but at the end of the day, if the game still feels like the way it does and there's no new skills to look forward to, I guess we can get more damage, but like, I just feel like there needs to be more, and a lot of people still feel the same way. And it's in its current state to charge $30 for the early access. I know a lot of people have mentioned, hey, you can opt in for Last Epoch. Last Epoch I can highly recommend in its current state for early access. Not sponsored, by the way. It's just another action RPG that has a lot more depth and it has a lot more going for it, especially if you just even look at the reviews for that game. There's a lot more potential if you're looking for an action RPG that has a lot more depth. Or Path of Exile's new lead recently came out, and that's got, obviously, that game's free, so it's really hard to compete with free. But when you look at when Diablo's on sale for, you can get Diablo and the expansion, Diablo 2 or even 3, it just offers a lot more content when you're looking at the competitors. I know this is a new game, but at the same time, when you're looking at how many people are playing on Steam, this matters because it matters for the support that this game will potentially get in the future, because if it doesn't get enough support, how are they going to be able to sustain the next league, the expansions, if they plan to make them for this game? But I will go ahead and briefly, now that I can basically talk about whatever while that was playing, I want to go ahead and show you guys some of the mechanics in this game that would separate it from other games. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it as I have leveled up my ancient tree to max level. And what this is it's a way for you to dump items into it, and what it does is it increases what's called gear luck. So let me go ahead and move my cam out of the way. So what it does is you feed it, and once it maxes out, you'll get plus 5 gear luck. What that really comes down to is magic find. When you also play the game at harder difficulties, which you guys saw the gameplay of, which is on the hardest one, you'll also get bonus magic find. It's pretty much just like any other action RPG, nothing new. But I finally maxed it out. There have been people saying that this thing isn't working properly. I have no idea, honestly. But some people weren't able to, like, basically grow the tree. Again, all these issues I'm not going to complain about too much. I'm mostly going to be complaining about basically the depth in this game. Again, for an action RPG, you have 7 skills. That's a huge downstep to even Torchlight 2 or Diablo 2, which you had 3 skill trees with 10 skills each on most of them. With this, you have 7 on 2. But at the end of the day, maybe the gear in the future will be able to fix this, but I really don't think they're just going to be like, all right, you know what, we're going to go ahead and take every skill tree and quadruple and double it. That's what I would want. I would want to see a lot more innovation with this game. As far as the pets go, they have technically made it so some of these would like drop, because I guess some of them weren't able to drop. I still haven't gotten these, and I've completed the game multiple times on multiple difficulties with multiple characters, and some of them, I don't know, maybe they're just super, super, super rare. But as far as the relics go, this is one mechanic to the game that was cool. I like this idea, but if you actually start leveling up multiples of them, you'll notice they're actually very similar. So what the heck a relic is you get to pick a relic. Now, a relic will have an active skill, although in this build I'm not opting to use it. I'm just trying to opt in for this proc chance. So when I poison an enemy, there's a 55% chance that they will spawn a missile and deal damage. That's what I'm basically going for. There's also a crit chance that you can go ahead and build when you go and activate your... this is almost like an ultimate. So you'll deal poison damage, or you can make it bleed damage, or you can make lightning damage. They're all kind of the same. It's just whatever color comes out. But you can see a lot of them are basically the same. You can see it makes it so you have extra crit chance, and you get extra chance to poison the enemies. If you look at any of the other ones, like if you go to the frozen one, you'll have a chance to freeze an enemy, and then also you can get crit if you want to. And then there's some type of on proc chance to hit for freeze on it. But a lot of them actually feel very similar. I wish they felt a little bit more different, but a lot of the times you'll see, like, for example, oh, if they're frozen, you can maybe crit them a little bit more. Or if you go to, let's say, the electric one, oh, okay, you'll have extra crit chance when you activate it. They're all, like, the same thing. It's just the color is different and what modifier rolls on the weapon. And there's some type of, like, on this one, there's a 10% chance when you hit a shocked enemy that it will deal damage. But again, it's the same thing as, like, the poison. They feel very similar. This was a cool idea in concept, but I wish that there was a little bit more variety with this. In terms of the skills in this game go, some of them kind of feel similar, but overall, like, this class, what it does is it gets like a train, and I believe originally you had to build it, build like the path, but it just kind of follows on its own path. What's the difference between this character and just having a pet? I don't know. I mean, you can get, I guess, more like little carts on the train, which is kind of a cool idea, but at the end of the day, there's no like really cool next-gen mechanic that I feel like exists in Torchlight Frontiers to really separate this as an action RPG that is unique on its own. Because what matters really in any action RPG is the gear, right? There is this other thing that is basically from Diablo 3. If you guys remember the Kanai's Cube, it's basically choose whatever legendary that you have gotten and disenchanted, and you can get a lot of cool different modifiers here. But this is a mechanic that has already existed in Diablo 3, so it's not anything new. But it is a really cool thing. It's where you get a legendary, and you're able to disenchant it and then get whatever you want. As far as crafting goes in this game, basically things have socket modifiers, and you can go ahead and choose whatever one that you want. However, how the game kind of works in its current state, when you open up the map, you basically have like areas that will do poison damage, areas that will do fire damage, and depending on what you want to go ahead and roll on your gear for that specific area. Let me go and actually open up this. So like this area, there's a lot of fire damage, and this area has lots of poison damage. This one, well, we don't have this act yet, but I'll get you guys gameplay of it when it comes out. So as far as it goes, people have been complaining that like their gear feels useless when you move to another area, as in when you go from fire damage to poison damage, they feel like their fire defense is all useless. But if you just roll defense on it, you'll be a-okay. I got really lucky and literally rolled defense on every single one. And if you happen to get one modifier that you don't like, it's kind of a nightmare to do this, but you can disenchant and basically clean all of these off. It does cost quite a bit of gold, but you can remove all the enchants and then try to RNG it again, but it will still cost you the material. So there is a little bit of crafting with this game, and I think the crafting's okay in this game. It's not anything super big, but in terms of the customization, this is one thing I think was kind of cool that I mentioned with the sets. So you'll see this is Skittering Helmet. It's a legendary helm, and it says increases Plague Shrine duration by 20 seconds. And it says Skittering Set, requires one more Skittering item, and it's grayed out, but it says increases Plague Shrine duration by another 20 seconds. And I have another legendary that is part of the Skittering Set, so it will grant me that bonus. So instead of seeing the 6-piece bonus, basically how the sets work in this game is you only need you'll get like some type of bonus via one, like this one. If I kill a hybrid, which is a type of enemy, will gain 20% item luck and 10% movement speed. And because I have another skittering thing, it's twice as effective. So I like the idea that they had with these, basically these set items that are also legendaries. Like it'll automatically give you a legendary ability, but if you have another one in the set, then you'll get another bonus. I like that. I think that thing was kind of a cool idea versus just trying to get all 6 pieces or whatever the case may be of a set, and therefore then you get the massive bonus. But that's kind of how it works in this game. Now, as far as the game goes, you can respec your build, but there's just not enough to go for. And I really feel like that's the main thing that this game lacks in terms of what is available when you compare it to what else is on the market, at least as of right now. But that's my thoughts on the game. I'm gonna go and throw my face cam back on. This quest is broken right now, but again, I'm not gonna complain about like bugs and things too much. The core game itself just lacks not only content in terms of because it's not completed, but again, I want more skills. That's my biggest complaint. But here's the hope at the end of all of this. Because single player will exist, maybe someone will make this game amazing. If any of you guys have seen what they've done with some of the Grim Dawn mods for Diablo 2, or even the Diablo 2 mods like Meet and XL, they completely changed that game. Even the Torchlight 2 mods are really cool as well. So I hope in the future this game will be better via its like core game, but if that doesn't work, I think the modders might be able to make this game interesting, and we'll have to wait and see where it goes for it. So here's my thoughts on this game. As far as the story goes, by the way, it's really incomplete. There's literally scenes where it's just black and white, and they have like kind of placeholders for some of these like was it the cutscenes. You can watch the full campaign playthrough if you want to. It's about 10 hours long. It was fun. I genuinely say, if you want a 10-hour experience with an action RPG, this game can be okay, definitely. But if you really want to spend 100 or 1,000 hours, there's just not enough content in this game. Even in its full release, maybe you can spend a little bit more. But again, I just don't see that. Like, how are you going to make build diversity? If the gear that they add to the game in the future is going to be insane and will completely change it, then maybe my opinion will be changing. But of course, they're charging $30 for this now. And so overall, my recommendation is, if you really like Torchlight, or if you haven't played Torchlight 2, my recommendation is to pick up Torchlight 2, wait for the updates, or you can watch my videos and you can see if you like it more in the future or if it goes on sale. I think this game in its current state, $10 would have been good. I think a lot of people said that on the forums, but it's got, again, under 50% review, and I cannot recommend this game in its current state, but later down the line, as this game isn't fully launched, that can, of course, change. But visually and the sound, excellent job. gameplay wise, it's not like, I mean actual gameplay, not the amount of skills. That's okay, but you need a lot more skills, you need more depth, you need some type of giant passive tree for maybe after you completed the campaign. Maybe that's what their plan is for endgame, but even with like the amount of maps, I just don't see this game holding my attention for 1,000+ hours. But those are my thoughts on it. You guys can let me know what you thought of it down below now that you guys have played it. That's my thoughts. But if you guys want to check out Last Epoch or Me and XL, because I mentioned those games several times during this, it's just because those games just offer a lot more content, and that's what I want to look for in an extra RPG. But you guys can check the pinned comment down below. And if you guys want to be updated on more Torchlight 3 content, I will cover it once they release Act 3, which should be coming out next week, which would be pretty cool. And I just want to get this video out there for those of you guys that asked, like, you know, what are your thoughts on this game after you've completed it multiple times, and of course on the highest difficulty now. And my thoughts are basically the same. It's just fun 10 hours. 100 hours, it's just not there for me. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. And if you're new here, subscribe, turn on that bell, and I'll update you guys with that more Torchlight stuff in the future and other gaming content. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.